I remember as a child seeing a ad for evaporated milk, and on the package was the line, "Our milk is better because it's made from contented cows." Contented cows. And if you think about it, a cow is content. Give a cow a field, give a cow, opposite gender cow, a barn, and the cow is happy. And the reason why that's significant is because man is never content. It seems to be one of the strangest realities of the human condition that no matter who a person is, no matter what stage in life, they're never just content. They're always moving, chasing, doing, never satisfied. And it starts at a very tender young age. If you want to teach your son to wear tzitzits, what you say to the young child is, "Ooh, do you want to be like Moshe? Moshe wears tzitzits." Because the little boy wants to be like the big boy. And the big boy wants to be like the bigger boy. And throughout a child's growth, there's always this getting to the next stage, being on the next level, and there's always this sort of interesting kind of not just being there, not just being okay where I am, there's need to grow, need to get to a new level. And oftentimes, it doesn't lead to greater satisfaction. I remember as a kid, my mother sent me to camp, and one year I said to my mother, "I'm not going back next year unless I'm a waiter." Now the choice then was to be either the oldest camper or to be a waiter. Now if you know much about camp, being the oldest campers in camp is about as good as it gets. You play all day, no responsibility. That's about it. It's great for a kid to be the oldest group of campers. Doesn't get better than that. Yet I said to my mother, "I'm not going back unless I'm a waiter." What's the job of a waiter? The waiter, basically, you wait. 3 hours each meal. You got to set up, you got to serve, you got to clean up twice a day, 6 hours of work a day. And I said to my mother, "I'm not going back unless I'm a waiter because waiters are older, chashav." And as strange as it is to me now, I just would not have been happy being the oldest camper. I wanted more, the next level. And this is a reality endemic in the human condition. No matter who you are, no matter what stage you are, there's never this sense of just, I'm okay where I am. I always need the next level, the next thing. I got to be moving. I got to be going on. And it's a very interesting phenomenon that you'll find over and over and over. A guy goes into business and he has one goal. I'm going to make $1 million. Once I have $1 million in the bank, I'm set. I'll retire. I'll chill. And he sweats, sleeps under the desk at night, and doesn't do anything but focus on growing and growing. And he grows his business, and it does well, phenomenally well. And he hits that point, $1 million in the bank, clear, free, done. So what does he do? Sets a new goal. Okay, now it's $5 million. He doesn't take it easy. He doesn't just chill. Now it's $5 million, and he sleeps under the desk at night, then he's driven and he's moving. And no matter what he gets to, there's going to be another level. If a person has 100, needs 200, and it's a fact in the human condition. The businessman always needs to make more money. The author needs to write the next bestseller. The executive needs to climb the corporate ladder. The politician is no longer satisfied with local politics. He's now got to move up to the state level. And no matter who you are, the human being never seems to be content, never seems to be satisfied, always needs more. And the Orchos Tzaddikim explains to us, in the 28th parak, he explains that this is the neshamah of man. Don't you understand? The human being isn't satisfied, isn't content. Why? Because no matter what you bring to your neshamah, it always wants more. And it's never satisfied. But the reason why it's not satisfied is because what you're bringing to it is cheap. What you're bringing to it just doesn't fill the needs of the neshama. You see, as I have a body, and that body has needs, so too I have a neshama, I have a soul, and the soul has needs. Well, the body needs to eat and drink, sleep, maybe procreate. There are various needs. And if you don't satisfy those needs, well, guess what? It's going to get very rough. So too you have a neshama, and that soul has needs. But the needs of the neshama are vastly different than the needs of the guf, of the body. The neshama needs to grow to accomplish. But the neshama has a different currency and has a very, very different set of values. And no matter what you bring the neshama from this world, it always has a sense of dissatisfaction. I need more. And when you see the human being driven and driven and driven to a sense that really doesn't make sense to you or I, what you're looking at is the soul never being filled. And for the fun of it, let's sort of see if we can illustrate this point a little bit. So as you're probably aware, Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos are at war. The war right now is who is the wealthiest man in the universe. Okay. And that is the fight. For a long time, they were neck and neck at 90 billion. Very recently, Jeff Bezos pulled ahead when Amazon stock rose. He's now, according to Forbes magazine, worth $105 billion. $105 billion. Now, let's understand something. $1 billion is a lot of money. $1 billion is 1,000 million. Now listen, let's say I like to live simply, right? I don't need much, maybe a private island in the Pacific, or I don't know, an Apache helicopter, a Lear jet, a team of butlers and maids, but I got it. If that's my lifestyle, I could probably get by on $10 million a year. But I want you to understand what $1 billion is. 1,000 million means that let's say you need to maintain your lifestyle $10,000 a day, okay? Most of us can manage to get by on $10,000 a day. If you were to spend $10,000 a day during the course of a year, you would spend 365 of those 10,000s, or $3.63 million. You will have only spent $3.5 million. That means it'll take you 273 years to use up $1 billion at $10,000 a day. So you're not going to get there that quickly. So let's up the ante. Let's make it $100,000 a day. Now you and I can get by on $100,000 a day. So if I'm 30 years of age and I'm spending $100,000 a day, I'm going to use up $1 billion in about 27 years. Let's say I plan on living to 90, so I'm going to use up $2 billion spending $100,000 a day. Let's make it better. I want to spend that money. So I'm going to find every tzedakah organization I've ever heard of, and I give each one $10 million. $10 million. I've now used up maybe another 20 billion. But that's only 22 billion altogether. Okay, I spend a little more, but at a certain point you realize there is nothing in the world that you're going to do with the more money. When you hit a certain point, 20 billion, 40 billion, certainly 50 billion, that's it. There's nothing that's going to change in your life. Nothing more that you're going to do. So here's the question. Is Jeff Bezos kind of like chilled now, content? Let me sit back. So basically, Dave Clark, who is the spokesman for Amazon, says, no, our goal is to sell everything to everyone. Anything you want on earth, you're going to get from us. Meaning to say, we're not yet there. And this reality, while on one level is very healthy and very much a part of the drive of the human for greatness, has to be understood. And if you'd like to understand the makor, the source, it's a very simple thing. You will never be satisfied with anything in this world. Why? Because half of you will be satisfied, but the other half, your neshamah, your soul, will be ever hungry. Because money doesn't fill my soul, nor does honor, nor do pleasures, nor do anything that you're going to provide. And while we all know it on some level, we live our lives as if it weren't true. And no matter who I am, no matter what position I'm in, I always say that line, well, I'm different. You don't know how to spend money the right way. If you think money doesn't buy happiness, trust me, I know how to spend it right. I'll be happy with it. And everybody tries it, and they all do it, and they're just empty. And the Orach HaSadikim explains the why. The why is because that's not the way your Creator built you. And there's a full half of you that says, ugh, and is empty, unfulfilled. not satisfied, and hungers for more. But what it hungers for is much deeper, much more meaningful, much more significant growth. And the Mesilas Yesharim explains, don't you understand? If Hashem created us for this world, and this world only, imagine again that you and I are like Elsie the cow. When the body hits the ground, her nefesh just evaporates. Then why would Hashem put a neshamah into us? Why make man that way? Man isn't content. He's not happy. And if Hashem created us for our station in this world, just like the last session we explained, Hashem would not make pain and illness and diseases and everything else that causes the human to be physically uncomfortable. The key point that Hashem wouldn't put into man is this neshamah, this soul that needs so much more, that's never satisfied with anything in this world, that no matter what you bring it, always says, nah. And explains to Mesilas Yesharim, don't you understand? Again, that is just one more proof that Hashem didn't create us for our station in this world. Because if Hashem created us for this world and this world only, we wouldn't have that drive. We wouldn't have that need, that unmet, incapable of being sated drive for more growth, more accomplishment, more greatness. But the fact is, we weren't made for our station in this world. We'll put into this world for a few short years, put here to grow and accomplish, and we'll put for here as the opportunity to become what we're going to be for eternity. And that inner drive for more is what drives human being for greater and greater heights. And in life, you have a choice. Either you harness that drive and you set real goals, meaningful goals, significant goals, and you accomplish and you grow, or you sublimate it and you push it to other things. That other things might be money, might be honor, might be reputation, may be things that sound pretty good, but anything other than the Torah's understanding of real growth will never satisfy your soul. Why? Because that's the way Hashem made you. Hashem gave you this inner need, this very powerful, powerful drive to accomplish, to do, but to do really significant things, really meaningful things, to change the essence of you. And if you use that drive properly, it will drive you throughout life to greater levels, and you'll accomplish. And if you sublimate it, if you sort of misdirect it, push it off to anything else, it'll drive you. It'll drive you to money or reputation or honor or writing plays or whatever it may be, but you're never going to be satisfied. You're going to be always empty. And the Mesilas Yesharim gives us one of the most important mashalim, one of the most important parables that so properly defines this. He says, imagine you have a princess, a soul princess. She's brought up in a lap of luxury, the apple of her father's eyes. Everything, anything she could imagine is given to her, and she is leading the most idyllic life. At 16 or 17 years of age, she's riding her horse, and she's riding very, very far. Her horse is always reliable, always trustworthy, and she's riding way, way beyond the palace grounds, deep, deep into the woods. Somehow the horse falls, trips, breaks its leg, and she finds herself miles and miles away without a way to get it back. She begins stumbling around the woods. There's nothing to eat. She falls asleep. A few days she's hungry. She's eating berries. She's beginning to become emaciated. Her clothing is starting to get ripped. After a month of wandering around the woods, she sees a shack. She runs in, and there's some bare chairs, a table carved of wood, but there's a porridge bowl. She eats the porridge. She falls asleep. A little while later, she opens her eyes, and there's this gruff man, primitive man, standing there. But he's kind, he's nice to her, he takes care of her. And as the story progresses, after a while, she falls in love, and she marries this primitive backwoodsman. Explains to Mesilas Yesharim, don't you understand? Nothing that he brings to her will ever bring her satisfaction. He prepares his best hand-carved wood spoon and knife set. She ate her meals with sterling silver. He prepares his best bean dish. She grew up with 7-course meals. white-gloved waiters. No matter what he's going to bring to her from his world, his beads that he strings together, his trinkets that he gives to her, they're going to mean nothing to her because she's from a totally different class, from a totally different place, and nothing he brings her is going to make her happy. Explains him Mrs. Sharm, that is us. Within me is a neshamah. The neshamah was under Hashem's throne of glory, leading the most illustrious, the most spiritual, almost near perfect life. Being close to Hashem, enjoying pleasures that are incomparable to anything in our world. And that neshama was put into this body. If I'm going to provide my neshama with lots of money, lots of honor, lots of physical pleasures, my neshama is going to say, so what? So what? And it will remain ever dissatisfied, ever hungry, ever with a sense of, what are you providing for me? And not only is this the real drive of the human for greatness, there's another sort of interesting effect that happens that if you don't listen to it. I want you to imagine for a minute, you have a young boy who's brought up by an overbearing, demanding father. And anything the boy does doesn't please his father. And his father's critical, and his father's very, very, very demanding. And the kid gets a message at a young age, nothing he does is good enough. Nothing he does will ever satisfy his father. He don't got what it takes. Bertrand Russell, I guess you'd call a modern philosopher, wrote a book in the 30s in which he laments the fact that most people are unhappy. And even studies today, when they ask that question, are you happy? They say 15% of Americans are genuinely happy. But here's the strange reality. We have incredible opportunity, wealth, opulence. In the course of history, never has mankind had it this good. Freedom, opportunity to shape your world, opportunity for education, for advancement. You could lead your life exactly as you want. And most people aren't happy. And why not? Why not? And if you'd like to fundamentally understand the why not, it's because from a young, tender age, there's a voice inside me that's been saying, what are you doing? Therefore what? That's not really significant. That's not really impressive. I'm not really happy with you. And here's the problem. The problem is that voice is me. And I can run from the voice. I can hide from the voice. But it's there. And it's ever there, ever bothering me, ever with that sense of, what are you doing? What are you accomplishing? What are you doing? And I have two choices. I either listen to that voice and set real Torah goals, real goals of growth, of accomplishment, change the essence of me, make a tremendous impact, or I do what's so much easier to do. What do you mean? Let's go. I am doing great things. Come on, I'm making lots of money. I'm a famous guy. I got lots of friends. And you're going to spend your life running and hiding. But guess what? It never stops. It never stops, and there's never a sense of satisfaction. And if you'd like to understand why the human being is never satisfied, it's because there's a full half of him that can't be satisfied, that just can't be happy with what you bring him. And if you'd like to understand more fundamentally why is the human being never happy, why can't he just smile and enjoy the situation he's in? The answer is you can't be happy if there's a hole in your soul. That's a line that they use in AA and the various Alcoholics Anonymous groups. Any addiction is a hole in your soul that you're trying to fill. You see, there's an emptiness within me. So I try to fill it with this and with that and with this, and it never works. It never helps because I wake up with the same emptiness. I remember reading a book as a child. It described the 1920s in America. A black kid grew up in the Deep South, and he describes what his life was like. And he describes poverty. But poverty means real poverty. as in not owning a pair of shoes, and as in always going to bed hungry. As a matter of fact, he describes that he didn't know what it meant not to be hungry. He would go to school in the morning. He hadn't eaten supper the night before, and it was annoying hunger in his stomach. And it plagued him all day until one day he found a solution. He was passing a neighbor's yard, and there was a garden hose. He opened the spigot and began drinking, and he filled his stomach with as much water as it could hold. And for a while, he was sated. Until 20 minutes later, when the water passed, and he was more hungry than he was before. If you'd like to understand the human being today, when you're hungry and you drink, it doesn't fill, and it leaves you more empty than you were before. Hashem created the human to grow, to change the essence of me, to change the world I live in, to change myself, but real accomplishments, real growth, changing my character traits, changing who I am, changing and becoming a much greater person. And if I listen to that voice and I set real goals, then there's a sense of, yeah, wow, within me. Look at me. This year, way, way different than I was last year. 5 years ago, I wasn't a fraction of what I am today. But if you set your goals as anything else under the sun, oh yes, sometimes there's temporarily a sense of fulfillment. I just won the gold medal, wow! And there's a sense of satisfaction. But it quickly passes because you're hungry for something different. You're not hungry for honor. You're not hungry for money. You're not hungry for approval. You're hungry for real accomplishments, real growth, spiritual accomplishments for which you were put on the planet. And anything other than that just won't fill your soul. You'll be empty, you'll be without, and you'll spend your life this way. And I believe one of the interesting revelations to modern man is this concept. There's a book that's well worth reading called Man in Search of Meaning, written by originally a Viennese psychiatrist, Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl discovered that he was Jewish when the Nazis put him on a train bound for Auschwitz. And he survived. And after landing in the DP camps, eventually landing on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, he wrote a book. And the book describes his life, both in the camps and after. And both parts are very, very well worth reading. But in the part that describes what it was like for him after the Holocaust, he describes that he put out a shingle, and very quickly his practice was filled. You see, he had been a world-famous psychiatrist in Vienna. Now he was in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. He opened his practice, and very quickly his practice was filled. But he describes that people would come in, and during the intake interview, he would ask the same types of questions that he had asked for decades in Europe, but he didn't recognize the answers. A man would come in, and it was, Dr. Frank would say, "What can I do for you?" "Well, doc, I'm depressed." "I'm sorry to hear that. Is it your job?" "No." "Is it your family?" "No." "Your wife, your kids?" "No." "Why are you depressed?" "I don't know, doc. That's why I'm here." A woman in her 40s would come in, "What can I do for you?" "Well, doc, I'm depressed." "I'm sorry. Is it your marriage?" "No." "Is it your children?" "No." "Your job?" "No." "Why are you depressed?" Patient after patient would come in without an attributable cause. An attributable cause is a reason why we would say it makes sense for this person to be depressed. If a woman was married for 35 years and she just lost her husband, that's a very real life blow. And that takes a while to get over. And we'd understand why a woman in that circumstance would need to really adjust, and it might just take her a while to regain that sense of life. An attributable cause might be a genetic predisposition, a gift from your parents. Science shares with us an interesting statistic. There are tens of millions of reported cases of depression in this country every year. Of those tens of millions of cases, only 16% have an attributable cause. A small fraction of those tens of millions of cases have a reason, a trauma, a predisposition, a genetic component, but the vast majority of them have no reason. But why, doc? I don't get it. I'm making money. I'm married. I got kids. I got a great career. I don't get it, Doc. Why am I depressed? And that question is its answer. You will be depressed. You should be depressed because there's a full half of you that you're not meeting. You're not satisfying. And if you spend your life trying to run from that voice, you will run, but with a hole in your soul, you're going to spend it that way. And if you'd like to see the greatest indication of God's plan for creation, study this phenomena. Why is modern man so unhappy? What's lacking? There's nothing missing from your life. Everything is there except one thing: inner satisfaction, happiness, a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning. But why can't I just put it away? What do I need it for? I didn't ask for it. I don't want it. I just want to be happy. But the problem is, it's not what your Creator made you for. And when you use a fine surgical instrument to pry open a window, it does a lousy job and it dulls the blade. The neshamah of man was given to man to drive you for greatness, to propel you to change, to grow, to set real, concrete goals in your spiritual perfection. And if you do that, there's an inner sense of an inner sense of harmony, of peace. And if you don't do that, anything else is going to leave you empty, is going to leave you without. And it is the only way for a person to be happy. But why? Because that's the way your Creator made you. You see, when you live your life with real purpose, when you're really accomplishing and growing, when you're following the Torah, keeping the mitzvahs, growing level after level, your neshama says, Baruch Hashem, I'm here. You see, there's nothing in this world that satisfies the neshama. Nothing in this world that makes my neshama happy. Not pleasures, not sensations, not all of the trinkets of this world. And there's a sense within me, my neshama, that says, what am I doing here? This thick, coarse, sluggish world, who needs to be here? But if you're racking up wealth, real wealth, spiritual wealth, if you're changing, you're growing, your neshama says, yes, that's it. I am so happy to be here. I am so satisfied to be here. It's remarkable. Because more than anything, your neshama understands why you're here. And your neshama understands the growth. And your neshama understands what you can be. I think this single reality that the human being is never content is exactly, as Mesilas Yesharim says, the greatest indication of the nature of man. A cow is content. A horse is content. Bovine. They sit there in the field and they're very, very good. Man isn't. And man needs more. Now, when you see the human being always aspiring for the next level, a little boy needing to be the big boy being the next, when you see the politician who's got to go from state level to national level, when you see the king who must conquer another nation, what's your problem? You're the king. You own all the land. Everyone is your servant. Now, I need another nation, another. What is your problem? Your problem is that you're trying to fill your soul with things that just don't help. Jeff Bezos has $105 billion, probably enough to live on, but it's never enough. It's never enough. Why? Because there's a need for more. But as Yeruch HaSadikim explains to us, the need for more is because I'm trying to fill my soul with things that are trinkets, that are passing. And my neshama knows I'm not taking that money with me. And my neshama knows that it's empty and foolish. And the Mesilas Yesharim's mashal of the princess and the peasant defines us. Within me is this lofty princess, born in the heights of greatness, brought up in the palace of the king, put into this coarse, cold, dark existence. And anything I bring it won't make it happy until I focus on its needs and I focus on what it wants. And if I do that, there's an inner sense of deep satisfaction, an inner sense of wow. And if I do anything else, well, guess what? Doesn't take very long for that water to pass. It doesn't take long till that new level that I accomplished just isn't enough, and I have that same gnawing emptiness within me. And I want to close with one last observation. By far, the most popular shmooze I ever say is the hero's shmooze. You can listen online, shmooze number 61. That's the one, Muhammad Ali, the one with the elephants. And no matter what audience I say that to, no matter what environment, it's extraordinarily well received. And for a long time, I used to wonder why. Why is it so popular? Why is it by far the one shmooze that everyone just like, yeah, you're right? And I realized the answer. The answer is because everyone, you, I, and every other human being you've ever met, has this inner need for greatness, an inner need to be way, way bigger than I am. Why? Because my neshamah isn't limited by this small body that I currently occupy. My neshamah comes from much higher levels, from a totally different magnitude, totally different order of events, from a world of pure spirituality. And that voice within me that says I should be doing much, much bigger things is my neshamah. And so we sublimate it. I should be an Olympic athlete. I should be the richest man in the world. I should write, But all of those things are my neshamah. My neshamah saying I could do much more. And it is true. I wasn't created for this mundane, small existence that I currently live. I was created to accomplish, to do. But it's not for headlines of the New York Times, not for wealth, fame, and honor. To accomplish real greatness, changing the essence of me, spiritual growth as outlined by the Torah. And anything you do other than that will never fill your soul, leave you ever empty. And only when you do that is there an inner sense of joy, of happiness. And when there's a sense within you, shouldn't I be doing way, way, way more? The answer is yes. But it's now time to focus on exactly what that more is. Set my goals in that area. Be satisfied with those types of accomplishments, because that's what Hashem created me for. That's what ultimately brings true happiness in this world and the world to come.